to speak. So in there, I teach public speaking from my experience of, I think, 20 plus years now. I started speaking quite very young. Of course, I'm not young, I'm 36. So now I'm old. Yes. But I've learned the art over time, and I think my parents were deliberate to teach us this at a very young age. For those of you who have kids, teach your kids how to speak. It will serve them a lot in this life. Teach them how to persuade people, how to negotiate. All these are very critical soft skills for one to succeed. So that's what that book is about. The last book is a guide to personal development. Over my years of engaging with people in personal development, I've realized that the challenge that many of us face is living unstructured lives. Haphazard, random, serendipitous lives where what you achieve is not measurable. So one writer talks about a little boy who he once found playing archery, and he would shoot his arrows. And when the old man came, he found that this little boy had hit every target. Then he says, young man, you must be very skilled. How is it that you have hit every target? He says, well, don't worry, old man. Sit and watch the master do his thing. So the old man sits and he watches. So he realizes this boy gets the arrow and his bow and he aims and hits. He hits on the wall off target. So the old man says he has missed for the first time. Then the boy walks to the arrow with his chalk and he circles around the arrow. Then the old man realizes this boy has hit no target from when he started. He hits no target and he goes and marks it as the target. And the people who come later on are impressed at how good he is. And many of us are living our lives that way and running our businesses that way. We have no targets, we hit anything, and when people ask, we now explain how we hit the target which we never had. Unstructured lives. So in a guide to personal development, I write how you can structure your lives. These books will be in the afternoon. Today, our day is half day. So I'll create an appointment. I think they'll be in the afternoon, and somewhere around 17 hours, I'll come here just for those who may want to get copies. There are a few copies, I think about 30 or so copies that my team has sent, and I'll be here at 17 for those that would love to get copies. Then I want to invite you to something very quickly. This is our National Education Expo that we host every year. These people you are seeing there is not Photoshop. That's what our audience actually looks like. We bring 2,500 people in one place. This is the biggest educational expo in my country. And we discuss entrepreneurship, education, and personal development. 12th of October this year, we are having this event again, and I'm inviting all of you. Lusaka is the place. Find yourself in Lusaka. We'll have very disruptive, very building conversations there at Mulungushi Conference Center. If all goes well, we expect our president to grace the event and a number of thought leaders that are actually going to be present there. So that is my invitation to you. Lastly, I thought on the introduction, I should just highlight what we do as DNK. You have heard from the introduction, we are in the pharmaceutical and medical equipment space. We are into publishing and branding, and we are into consultancy. But for this team, I think I should highlight from consultancy. We are based in Zambia. If you want to have a footprint for your business in Zambia, I think we are the go-to place. We provide a lot of things from compliance to registration to business development. So if you are thinking of that and Zambia as your destination, you can be in touch with us. My brother who was presenting yesterday, a powerful presentation, who is in the food industry, great presentation. He was talking about the M-phase. That's where they are going in. We are among the minds that are behind the development of the Lusaka Multi-Facility Economic Zone. So if you are thinking of investing in Zambia, I think we could guide you on that. Then, for your organizations, we do a lot of trainings. We do a lot of trainings in and out of our country. And if you would want us to train your teams on a lot of things, from corporate governance to customer care management to leadership, that is what we do on a daily basis. We'd be happy to engage with you. Away from that, let's dive into our presentation very quickly. Profit is the applause you get for taking care of your customers and creating a motivating environment for your people. We all love profits, but realize that profits follow those that take care of their customers and those that create a motivating environment for their people. I believe we are all experienced business people seated in here. You know, the greatest challenge to any business is human resource. The greatest challenge to any business is human resource. It is something that can be learned but almost never mastered. There's always an employee ready to surprise you. One time, even when I was on my honeymoon with my wife, we're out of the country, I received a trail of resignations. I said, guys, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait just for 3, 4, 5 days. I come back from honeymoon, then you resign. The guys are just, 3 guys have sent in their resignations, critical guys to the organization. But I've come to realize over time, if you're going to minimize staff turnover in your business, you must take care of your people. That does not guarantee they will not leave, they will not disappoint you, they will not do things, but it reduces the chances. But you must take care of your customers. I tell my staff, oftentimes even when we're onboarding staff, I ask them one question. I say, who is your boss? And they quickly say, oh, it's you, Doc. Oh, it's the general manager. Oh, it's my, line manager and all that. And I tell them, you're very wrong. There's only one boss in this business. I'm not your boss, I'm your leader. There's only one boss, and that is the customer. He is able to fire everyone in this company, including your CEO. The customer. And how he will fire you is just decide to change and begin taking his money somewhere else. And you are out. So I tell them, if I call you and the customer is calling you the other side, you know where to go. You go to the customer. If I'm having a meeting with you and the customer calls, you don't even have to excuse yourself. Our boss has called. Pick the line and talk to the boss. Because it is the customer who makes us relevant and still be in business. So your business must be customer-centric. I'm often, really shocked when I walk into businesses where you walk into a front office or you meet the owner of the business and they are carrying out themselves as the Alpha and the Omega. I learned one thing from one great entrepreneur we have in Zambia. He used to be the mayor of Lusaka, Mr. Fisher Male, behind a group of companies. One of the time we were sharing a platform speaking to some young people, and he talked about how he has learned the philosophy of the Chinese. The Chinese have a philosophy they got from Confucius of making yourself look even smaller to a person you are bigger than so that you control them. So you will realize that they are very different from the Britons, different from the Germans. Americans have an intimidating approach when they meet you. Hey, my brother, how you doing? You can feel the intimidation. A Chinese, when he meets you, say, yeah, how are you? And you begin to think you are the big guy. What he's doing is that he's loosening your doors to have easy access. We have partnerships with very big Chinese companies. Guys that are 10 times, 20 times bigger than us. But when I meet with these guys, they treat me like we are equals. They show all this respect. They'll go all the way. When you are done, they will escort you. And I've learned this and implemented it in our business. Anybody who visits our office, small or big, I treat them the same way. I will escort them all the way to their car if they came driving, all the way to the gate if they came walking. And I'll say, thank you very much for coming. Thank you. And everybody leaves feeling valued. You see, people will not do business with you until they like you. We never do business with anybody we don't like, except if he is the only option. So if you want people to engage in business with you, you must begin to work on your likability index. Some of us, our likability index is too low. Nobody likes you. Your employees don't like you. Your customers don't like you. Your vendors don't like you. They are all with you because they have no option. The day an option appears, they disappear faster than electricity. You must decide to work on your art. You see, there is a study. You know that studies are around emotional intelligence started showing up around the 1940s, and a lot has built around that. Before that, it was thought that human progress, self-actualization, is a product of intelligence quotient, which is IQ, your cognitive abilities. But then, over the reality of life indicated that, in the words maybe of Donald Trump, the A+ students have a way of working for the C and D students. So there was a mismatch. Why is it that the intelligent are working for the less intelligent? It was realized that there's another form of intelligence we have not paid attention to, which is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is people skills. Unfortunately, this is not taught in school. So many of us are developed in the cognitive domain, but not developed in the emotional intelligence domain. Ability to be liked, to negotiate, to get along with people, to be memorable, to impress yourself on the memories of people that you meet. And I'm hoping that we can begin to develop ourselves in that line. Ken Blanchard says today's workforce is more sophisticated, diverse, and informed than ever before. As a result, the my way or highway command and control approach management doesn't cut it anymore. Today is no longer about intimidation, because you are not one in a million, you are one of a million. So people have options. So today is about influence. Even your employees, you must inspire them. That is how you get loyalty from them. So it says, people are looking for something different and better in organization leadership. They demand leaders who not only get results, but who win the trust and respect of their teams. You must win the trust and respect of your team. Money is power, and you ought to be reasonably ambitious to have it. You ought, because you can do more with it than you could without it. Money printed your Bible. Money builds your churches. Money sends your missionaries. Money pays your preachers. So money is very important. Now, guess who wrote this? Russell Conwell. Russell Conwell was a preacher himself, a minister himself, but an entrepreneur at the same time. This guy was a Baptist minister in the US way back. He is the man who wrote the popular article titled Acres of Diamond. How many of us have read that speech? So Acres of Diamond is actually an article, a speech that he went around giving across America and Europe, to the point that it is recorded by the time he was dying, he had given this presentation 6,000 times. And I was trying to calculate, how do you make 6,000 presentations in a lifetime? I was trying to check how many times was he making it every day. I don't know how plausible that is, but that's what the biographers actually indicate about him. The concept of Acres of Diamond that he shares in there was to indicate that he tells of a story of a man who left his farm to go and look for a job, greener pasture somewhere else, and only to discover later on that when explorations were done, there were diamonds right in the farm that he sold. So he sells his farm that houses diamonds, goes to get a job somewhere else because he thought life was not happening. And in there, the concept that he brings is that many of us, our diamonds are right in our farms. So there are some of you that are thinking of leaving Malawi, but my question is, have you exhausted the farm of Malawi before you go to the other side? In science, you always learn of parallax error. Sometimes what you see as green pasture is simply a mirage. So before you move around very quickly, ensure you have exhausted the farm on which you are, lest you leave your acre of diamonds chasing the wind. So that's the concept he actually gives and says, exhaust. Some of you have not exhausted your current networks. There's so much in the networks you have, but you have not exhausted them. Some of us have not exhausted our individual potential. Some of us have not exhausted the potential our employees yet have. So before you think of moving to another place, whether physically, digitally, or otherwise, ensure you exhaust. Now, why I brought this guy is because he was a man committed to the Lord, a preacher with a very busy itinerary, but at the same time, a highly accomplished entrepreneur. By the time he was dying, he had set up hospitals, he had set up universities, he had set up many things. And he says he believed that all wealth should be channeled to pushing the gospel forward. And I'm hoping we all understand that. At the end of my presentation, you allow me to preach to you for 5 minutes. Is that okay? Yes. For now we are talking, but at the end of the presentation, you allow me to preach to you for 5 minutes. So, now, this shows how the onion rolls out. That if we are going to talk about agility, the end of it is tools and processes, but everything falls in the mindset. So there's the mindset we talked about yesterday. There are values which Madam Mala and other presenters highlighted yesterday, and there are then principles, the 12 principles. Madam Mala highlighted that yesterday of agility, and then practice is how now you make this practical and apply it in your institution. And I'll highlight a few things which I left out yesterday on the mindset, because I think it's very foundational. Adaptability, collaboration, continuous learning, and delivery of value. These are critical if you will run an agile enterprise. Adaptability. We must learn to adapt. I talked about that. You know why we are losing the battle against microbes, germs? It is because of their ability to adapt. We are actually losing that battle. That is why now we have MDR, TB, XDR, TB, resistant HIV, and all this. It is because viruses, bacteria, fungi have learned the ability to adapt. Once bitten, twice shy for them is very real. What happens is this: if you are sick, and probably just as medical advice, some of us fall sick, you are given an antibiotic course that should run for 5 days, that should run for a week, and you take for 2 days and you begin to feel fine. And what do? We shelve them for further notice and further use. And every home here in Africa has a little pharmacy, mama's pharmacy somewhere. I don't know about you, but where I came from, we had our mama's pharmacy. You knew somewhere in our wardrobe, a certain shelf had a handbag that had medicine there, where some of the papers you could no longer even read what is in there, but there are tablets in there. And when you are sick, she'll look at you and say, this should be malaria. She'll go in her pharmacy, pull out some few tablets in there, medicate you to life, and you'll be back to life. Anybody who had such an experience? Mama's pharmacy sits somewhere there. And now I understand how dangerous that was. Because some of those uncompleted courses were antibiotics. Now here's what happens. When you do not complete your antibiotic course, it means what has been administered is what we call a subtherapeutic dose. It means it can assault the bacteria or the germ, but does not kill the germ. And what bacteria, viruses, and fungi do is, immediately a subtherapeutic dose of antibiotic has been given, which suppresses them to a certain level but does not clear them. They create a mechanism of resistance against that antibiotic. The next time you take the antibiotic, the bacteria are having a party. And that's why now we have a chain of diseases that are resistant. It is because they quickly adapt. Anything that comes, they don't sit and have a pity party. They quickly learn and say, how do we position ourselves that the next time we have this medicine in here, we are safe? This is what every business owner and every enterprise must learn. There is no time for self-pity. Business landscape is a bloodbath. It is war. There's always somebody scheming to take you out. And unfortunately, this side of the world, it is not only your business competitors. Sometimes it is even the regulators. Sometimes it is even development bodies that are there to empower entrepreneurs. When you go in there, you are shocked. Hey, most recently, something happened on our business of supplying medical equipment. We're supplying some x-ray machines to some hospitals. And you know, I think my young brother maybe made a mistake, but I don't think, to post on his page to say, well, we supplied this equipment to this hospital. The next thing I got was a call from my young brother that one of the people from the regulators has called him and said, well, you need to report to the office. You said, what? For terrorism. I said, terrorism? He says, yes. He said, oh, okay, that is flattering that people can think of us as terrorists. But how are we terrorizing? He says, well, you are supplying radioactive material. I said, we are supplying radioactive material. He said, yes, because you know an x-ray machine produces radiation, so that is radioactive material. It is classified under terrorism. I said, what? The people that should empower you are the people you'll be fighting with. You must learn how to adapt and navigate through corridors of power, through schemes of, competitors, through jealousies, and all that. Adaptation. And away from that, like we said yesterday, you must learn to adapt to the global economic shifts that are happening. Collaboration. I think this is critical. So a few years ago, I was speaking to the Zambia Institute of Marketing for their annual general meeting. And when their CEO sent me an email for my presentation, he said, we want you to come and present on Coopetition. My mom is a teacher of English, and she's very particular about how you speak your English. So quickly, that switched in me, red flag, Coopetition. I think this is a mistake. It should be competition. So I almost wrote an email back to the CEO and say, I think there is a mistake in my presentation title. It should be competition. But before that, the scholar reminded me, said, verify everything before you write an email. So I quickly Googled the word Coopetition. Then I realized it exists. Said, I would have embarrassed myself. I said, and I realized, what is Coopetition? Coopetition is the opposite of competition. Competition, competitors go in the same market in there and fight for a market share. Coopetition, people that are in the same market, same industry, supplying same services or products, instead of competing, they collaborate to get a bigger market share. And this is what we must learn, especially as Africans. So I came to realize that two big players in our country that supply chicks. When I was teaching this, one of the marketing department heads from one of those companies was actually present. So he comes to me and he says, what you said is very true. He says, people know these two big companies in Zambia that supply chicks, very big companies, and they know us as competitors. But I'll tell you, behind the scene, we are partners. Much as we are separate companies. He says to maintain our market shares, what we do is this. When we run out of chicks because of demand, we go to our competitor, pick chicks, come and package them in our boxes, sell to our clients on their behalf. So that we don't have stockouts and we maintain our clients. When they run out of chicks, they come and get our chicks, go and package in their boxes, supply our clients. And people go around talking about how these chicks are better than those chicks and how these are better than those, not knowing they're trading the same product. This is what we must begin to learn in business. Even here where we have not come here to compete. We have come here to collaborate. Before you leave this place, ensure you have built collaborations across these borders. Hallelujah. Amen. Continuous learning. If you're going to be agile, you must continuously learn. I challenge my staff and every person I meet. The day you stop learning, you are beginning to wish for death, because it is only the dead that don't learn. Continue to learn. Michelangelo, the great sculptor of the Renaissance, a contemporary of Da Vinci and others in that time, he had a life motto which was a Greek word, enkora empara, which meant ever learning. Somebody asked him, how is it that you can do these exceptional works? He said, I have one motto in life. I am ever learning. There will never come a time that you have learned so much that you can't learn anymore. In whatever you are doing, make it a habit. It must be criminal to yourself to sleep with the same information you woke up with the same level of enlightenment that you woke up with. Every day, personally, before I sleep, I evaluate what have I learned today. What a kitchen is to the body is what a library must be to your mind. Every person who hopes to remain at the top must continuously improve, even just to remain there. You must continuously learn. That's why in professions like mine, you cannot renew your license until you demonstrate that you have learned in that year. Continuous professional development. Because the knowledge of yesterday could be dangerous applied in the situations of today. So you must continue to learn. Even your staff, challenge them to continue learning. The economic environment is changing. You must have, deliberate policies to build capacity in your staff on a continuous basis. There must be workshops and training, workshops for them to learn. Upskilling every time, learning new skills, learning new tools, learning new technologies. Because now we are all networked. There was a time where one person could do a bad review about your company. It would take 2 years for it to reach everyone. Today, one young person seated somewhere with a borrowed phone and borrowed talk time can write a post that can bring a whole company down. So you want to be very careful to ensure that your company is delivering the value you are promising to actually your clients, to your vendors, and everyone. These we highlighted yesterday, and Madam Mala also highlighted: individual over processes, work solutions over documents, customer collaboration, and responding to change. That's my wife and I there. Yes, she sends her greetings. Okay, now, biblical example about agility. John chapter 4, in there we find a story of Jesus approaching the woman at the well. And you see the agility of Jesus to respond to the situation and to use what is at hand to attain his desired outcome. So we can actually realize that one of the most agile, if not the most agile person who ever walked the earth was Jesus himself. Sister White says he met them at their point of need and then bid them come. That was Jesus' strategy. When he found people at a wedding, they invited him. Many of us today invited to a wedding would not have showed up, would have cited a few quotations from Spirit of Prophecy why we can't show up. The wedding at Cana. But Jesus invited. He shows up there. And he begins his ministry from there. He shows up to some tax collector who is in a tree somewhere there. Agility. And he delivers. And he disrupted the norms of the time. As a very agile individual. So we can actually learn from him. Leadership traits when you are agile. Number one is customer-centric. I've already emphasized this. Make your customer the center of what you are doing, because that's the real boss, actually, of what you are doing. Embrace change. We have talked about that. Collaborate. Fast decision-making. I need to emphasize on this one. We have reached a point where you can't take days to make a decision. That idea of I'll think about it. Well, I should bring it to the social circle if there is any young lady not married in here. The time of I'll think about it is gone. Think while he's talking. I hope I'm speaking to some young lady who is not married in here. That idea of, no, the brother has given his manifesto. No, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. Hey, you are not one of a million. You are one in a million. While you are thinking about it, others have the answer ready because they did a feasibility study about it. So you now think on your toes and make decisions there and then. But if your decisions are going to minimize risk, it should be because you are informed right ahead of situations. So in whatever we are doing, let us learn to make decisions very, very fast, because the world has gotten in a fast-forward mode where everything is happening so fast. Opportunities are passing at a supersonic speed. And if you are waiting to have a board and another board and board resolutions, by the time you come, they'll tell you, well, we are now collaborating with these other guys. Decentralized decision-making. There are some of us still running enterprises where even just approving a transaction of a 1,000 kwacha, Malawi kwacha, people have to call you here where you are. And we'll see you say, excuse me, 1 minute. Yes, you said how much? You are discussing to approve the 1,000 kwacha, and they can't buy subscription for Wi-Fi because the CEO has to approve subscription for Wi-Fi. The CEO in Lilongwe, who is offline, has to approve the printing of brochures for the company. And this is what limits some of our enterprises. We must learn the art. This is what almost overwhelmed Moses when he was leading the children of Israel. Because Moses stood there administrating and handling every issue. The guy who stole the chicken, he said, oh, so let's discuss what happened. Where did the chicken go? Then the other guy, where this big issue happened, he's there. The father-in-law told him, you are going to drop dead with BP. Go and stratify these people. Create groupings and put leaders over them who should handle the minor issues. Let only serious issues reach you. Agility is decentralizing decision making. This must happen in all our organizations, such that the only things that really reach you are the most serious, pertinent of issues that nobody else can handle. One time I called one of my managers. I told, what are you doing? I found him repairing a genset. I said, what is managerial about repairing a genset? You are seated here repairing a genset. You are doing a task that there is somebody who can do it. This is a low-level task. And by you engaging yourself in low-level tasks, you are robbing your time that you should use for high-level tasks, which cannot be delegated. This can be delegated. My principle is I only do that which nobody else in my organization can do. That's how you improve efficiency. You can't be the person who is reviewing adverts. The MD saying, no, this poster doesn't look good, so reduce the font size. No, sir. That's not managerial. That's not executive. Delegate. Before you take on any task, ask yourself, in this whole structure, there's nobody who can do this? If the answer is yes, go ahead and do the task. If the answer is no, find the guy, give him to do the task. As you remain doing what nobody else in your organization can do. So these days we joke with him. When he sees me, he says, Doc, you are doing unmanagerial things. He understands the concept. Only do that which, then be a lifelong learner. I think I've talked about that. Building agile businesses. How do we do this? Number one, work in short cycles. And I think Madam Mala did a good job yesterday about that. Short cycles with small teams. Fragment the big teams into smaller teams to do specific tasks. It is going to drop on the levels of bureaucracy in your institution. Many enterprises fail to deliver what they should. Why? There is a lot of bureaucratic procedure. One document has to run through 11 people before it is finally approved. Yesterday, I think it was one of my sisters who was saying, until you because of the procedure, you have made a leave application, you even go on leave because you are sure the leave will be guaranteed. While you're on leave, you just receive a reply that tells you to say, no, actually, your leave application has been rejected. Bureaucratic procedures. I remember one institution we have at home, a regulator, we were invited to sit on a certain committee to review the guidelines for the pharmaceutical space, that is for pharmaceutical retailing. I remember very well that I received the invitation letter to that workshop to review the guidelines 1 month after the review was done. And you know, somebody kept calling me from their institution. We have a letter for you. We have a letter for you. And I was like, what is this letter about? We have a letter for you. We have a letter. They called, they drove with fuel for the institution to come and deliver a letter for an invitation for a meeting that happened 1 month ago. That is a clear example of how bureaucratic procedures can impede delivery. So even as you leave this place, always ask yourself questions. Is this the easiest way of doing business that we are doing? How easily accessible are we? How accessible are we in terms of information? How accessible are we in terms of payments? You go to companies where they'll give you a list of how they don't receive money. No, we don't receive money. I was almost giving an example, but I think it may not be a good idea. But I was almost giving an example that I saw a poster in the hotel written, "We don't receive cash." Not in this era. You can't have such a poster. We don't receive cash, only cards. And hey, you should know that a customer is always looking for a reason why he should not do business with you. A customer is always looking for a reason why he should not do business with you. So your work must be to drop the inhibition threshold as low as possible. So that if he says, I would have paid, it's only that you don't have an account with FNB. You say, no, we actually have the account. I would have paid if you do mobile money. Yeah, if you did, you say we have mobile money. I would have paid if you took checks. You say we do the check. Remove every reason why people should not do business with you. Remove every reason why people should not do business with you. Regular feedback. As you are running your enterprise, you must create feedback mechanism. God has put this even in the human body. I'll tell you that everything that runs in your body has a feedback mechanism. The brain knows what is happening. So you have the afferent and the efferent nervous system. One taking information to the body parts, one collecting information back to the body part. Right now, as you are seated here, your brain is conscious of the room temperature, the noise levels, the pressure on where you are seated, whether it's comfortable or not. It is because at the same time, while the effector motor system is delivering functionality in terms of movement and everything, the other system is collecting information so that your reactions are appropriate to the environment. And every business, there are businesses where a client can't even give a review because there is no system for customer feedback. So in the end, we are creating products and things that are aloof to customer preference. If we are going to build agile enterprises, as we go back, ensure that there is feedback mechanism. So what did we do in our company? Under customer care service and management, we employed customer care service managers, guys whose work is just to follow up after delivery of our services or products and get feedback from customers. How was your experience doing business with us? What challenges did you face? What didn't you like? And they give their review, whether it is on how the staff related with them, whether it is in how we delivered our product and everything like that. Build systems of feedback. Anybody that does not get feedback is not ready to improve whatever they do. Christian principles of agility. Servant leadership for us as leaders. Stewardship of opportunities. Faith and courage. I think I'll highlight this as I will be closing, and I'll soon be closing. Enterprise transformation, applying agile values and principles across the entire organization, goes beyond IT or development teams. Remember, this whole agile concept started from IT. It impacts structures in terms of culture, strategy, and leadership. When we are going to go back, whatever we have learned here, we must find a way of transmitting this through rank and file of all our organization. For those of you that are doing businesses with your spouse, why I'm an advocate for you moving with your spouse and ensuring that you are at the same mental frequency. Sometimes what sabotages your efforts is your spouse. Because you are at two different mental wavelengths. So you have come here and learned agility, and your spouse is not here and knows very little about agility. When you go and say, no, let's go this way, say, why are you trying to change me? Accept me the way you found me. Accept me the way you found me. As much as it allows, and you go to where there is mental empowerment, carry your husband, carry your wife. And for business continuity, whatever you learn, go and transmit to your children. Because some of us, the day we die is the end of the enterprise. The children will come and party. I always say there's an accent that needs investigation. When you move in some of these slums we have in our countries, you are always going to find some young boy in the slum speaking very refined English. And when you investigate the English, you're going to find the father used to run an enterprise and he used to stay in the elite spaces. Why? There was no succession plan and there was no transfer of skills from the parents to the children. I sat with one of our Indian partners and he tells me this business which I run now was created by my grandfather, transmitted to my father, then given to me. And he says, you can see our daughter now is one of the line managers. When we die, she takes over. And I realized this very quickly. When you go in our friends, even just little shops that Indians run, you'll find as they are selling, their little boys and girls are also there, seated, disciplined, selling. And the little boy is there. So he learns the art, he learns the leadership, he learns how to manage the business. Our case often is different. When you run a little shop, as you are leaving home, you have to warn everyone, let him not come to the shop. Because you know when he arrives, biscuits are gone, sweets are gone, everything is gone in there. So he said, no, let him not come. So he's growing and he just knows that mom and dad run a business. He has no clue of the ownership structure, where the documentation is, what the processes are, how it runs. He knows nothing about that. He has no clue where your title deeds are. The day you die, estate management is not there. There is commotion. They tear down everything. We must begin to think about these things, even as we are thinking of agility. Agility beyond your generation. How will your children actually take over? So I'm saying through rank and file, go and teach these things. If you can't teach them, there are a number of consulting firms here. Yesterday, my brother came here, they shared, they do these things. You could engage them if you are here or across borders. We are into change management, leadership training and management. We can offer these things. And there are many other people that are here. But go and ensure that you are not the only person who knows where the company is going. Tell people you can't be the only vision carrier in the company. What if you get bashed? The vision has been bashed. When you are in hospital for 1 month, the vision is in hospital. Everybody else is waiting to hear from you. No, sir. The vision must be shared with everybody in the company. Whether you are present, you are absent, things are running because everybody knows the direction that the company is actually taking. You know very well that John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. Wangari Maathai says the challenge of Africa is a challenge of leadership. Those of you that have read the story of McDonald's, you know very well that what turned around that franchise was a guy who came in and changed the leadership structure. So very, very important that we go and do those things. Okay, we talked about why this is important yesterday. The pillars of our agile transformation is a leadership culture. You must go and ensure there is mindset shift and change in your company. Everybody must carry the same mindset you have. Servant leadership, we have talked about that. It will make your team to easily buy into what you are selling, into the vision that you are actually carrying. Team structure, cross-function, empower your teams. Allow them to work not in silos, but to collaborate as teams. It will shock you. That is why in the Western world now, the model of building offices is open floor offices. Everybody sits everywhere. Actually, everybody sits anywhere. There's no desk designated with a tag saying marketing manager. No, whoever comes early sits anywhere. It even creates a mental, a mental environment of agility and change that I can sit anywhere. Sometimes all it takes to bring an innovative idea is just change of where you sit. Once in a while, if your table in your office is always facing this side and problems continue coming, turn it. When your employees come say, boss, why are you facing this direction? You say, agile transformation. Just a change. So when you look at Western companies, you are going to realize that they have realized that these barriers of offices with walls limit the flow of information, because somebody must prepare how they come and knock and how they enter, whether first they people and say, boss, are you there? Can I come in? They have to prepare that. That all becomes a barrier in communication, in time. So everybody now sits in an open office with the MD, the accountant, marketing, operations, everybody. You can just shout and get what you need and move to the next person on the table and ask your question. That brings in efficiency. We have, some of our companies are structured like the sanctuary. There's an outer court and the inner court and the Holy of Holies where the MD sits, and everyone just enters the air once every year on the Day of Atonement. No! Your business cannot be shaped that way in this time and era. It can be put that way. So ways of working, we talked about this yesterday. Technology and tools, bring in automation. Automation is critical now. Automate your processes. Where is my brother? We had a long chat yesterday night. Please stand up. This man can help you automate everything in your business. This man can help you automate everything. Yesterday we engaged in the night because we want to have him automate some of the processes that we do. So you can engage him. We have right in our midst brothers and sisters that can actually help us with that. Thank you so much. Please. Yes. These are the methodologies of Agile. Sister Mala highlighted on some of them. This can't be exhaustive here. We can't go in the details of all this. But just go and look through them. Scrum, Kanban, Lean, XP, Safe, and Discipline Agile. What should guide you is this row here. This row. Oh, my lighter may not be showing. But where you see team sizes there, it should guide you going by your enterprise and the best use in which type of enterprise, whether you are into product development, support and ops team, startup efficiency, tech, it guides you which model then you should use. So from there, you can see what you do. Pick a model from here that aligns with what you do, then go and read further on that model and use that model in your business. That makes sense? You look at the table, best users, look through there, what speaks to the kind of business you do, then come to frameworks, pick the framework that goes with what you do, go and read further on that framework and apply it in your business. When you're going to apply these things in your company, you are going to face resistance. We all know that people are naturally, a good chunk of us, resistant to change. So you're likely going to face that. Why? We hate change because sometimes change threatens our jobs. Sometimes change threatens our comfort. Sometimes change threatens our legacy. Things that we are proud of saying, I'm the one who brought this in the company. Then somebody is saying we should stop doing this. Your legacy is gone. So people resist change for many reasons. And so it is possible that you will see resistance to change, and hence therefore you must engage in change management. Trainings for your team to ensure everybody is brought on board. Misalignment across departments. This happens. Oftentimes when we do staff audits for companies, I've come to realize that many companies have duplicity of roles. 5 guys doing the same things, delivering very little because each one thinks the other person is doing it. And when you come, then you realize that the company has an inflated workforce, an inflated wage bill with very little delivery because there's duplicity of roles. From time to time, you must do audits that do a skills match between the people that you have in your company and exactly what each person does. At leadership level, you must know what every person is delivering in your company. It will shock you. Some of our companies, our workforce would downsize to a 30%. Some maybe to a 50% of what you currently have. But that is very, very important. So do alignment in terms of your teams, inadequate leadership buy-in, ensure your immediate junior management and all that buy into what you are doing. Take care of the legacy systems and silos. That's what I was talking about. We are used to working in silos, not to collaborate even within the same company. And there are legacy issues there of people trying to protect whatever they have done and hence resisting change. I remember when we introduced a certain accounting software for our team, there was a lot of resistance from accounts. And I realized one of the challenges was just that somebody didn't want to learn. They enjoyed working the old way with spreadsheets of Excel and all that stuff. And just to change and adapt and learn was actually a challenge. Now I want to come to the end of my presentation. Solutions to common challenges. 1, continuous training and coaching. Go and do continuous training and coaching. It is never a loss to teach your people more than they currently know. And I remember reading a book where somebody was saying, oh, if you train people, you are investing and pushing your money in there. What if they leave? And the person who was asked that question says, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? Oh, I need to repeat that one. So this guy is saying, look, we can't spend much to train our people because what if we train them and they leave? And you know, that's the frustration of being an employer. You get money, push in, train these guys, train them. After the whole training, the next day, one has resigned and left, this guy has gone. So this guy says, what if we train them, invest, and they leave? So that's a good question, but I have a better question for you. What if we don't train them and they stay? So go and train and coach your people. Clear vision and sponsorship, aligning incentives. Put incentives, incentivize change towards what you want your company to be. Incentivize, incentivize, if you're going to be agile, incentivize innovation. Now, in many companies, we give awards to those that have brought innovations that are successful. When you do that, you kill innovation in your company. Because those that are not successful then have no motivation to try. Now, remember, success of innovation is a game of chance. Yeah? So you must reward all innovation, whether successful or not, as long as thought and effort are demonstrated in what is done. I will tell you that when you look at drug development, it takes more than 4,000 development of 4,000 different molecules to have one that works. Have you heard that? You develop 4,000 molecules, and in that 4,000, only one works. Innovation takes in work, but it's a game of chance. So as you go back, incentivize innovation in your companies. It will help them go out. First, you do a phased rollout. Yesterday, Madam Mala talked about that, and it will help. Now, let me go to my conclusion. This is my conclusion here. I told you that I'm going to preach to you in 5 minutes. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 10 to 18. As we are closing. Beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you today. Verse 12, lest when you have eaten and are full, and have built beautiful houses and dwell in them, and when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold are multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, and when your heart is lifted up, and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Deuteronomy is a book that is Moses' narrative that he gives as his parting words to the children of Israel right before crossing Jordan into Canaan. And he gives 3 speeches that are summarized as Deuteronomy. And when Moses speaks to them, he tells them this. He knows he's not going to enter himself. But he says, when you have entered Canaan, when you have eaten and are full, and have built houses and dwell in them, and when your herds and your flock multiply, your silver and your gold are multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, hey, there's a danger that your heart can be lifted up. There's a danger that your heart can be lifted up. And the first thing is you are likely going to forget the Lord your God. The one who brought you out of bondage into the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. That's the danger. He says the danger is that when things begin to multiply, there is a danger of ascribing issues to yourself. We often don't ascribe our suffering to ourselves, that I'm suffering because of what I've been doing. But when things begin to happen, we are happening because we are happening. Because we are smart, because we are informed, and all this. He says there is a danger that you may forget the Lord who brought you out of the house of bondage. Could it be that we are at that position where we are full, we have eaten and are full, and we are building houses, dwelling in them? Now, nothing wrong with that. But could we be at this point? There is a danger that as your profits are multiplying and you are getting into new markets and your investment portfolio is getting diversified, there is a danger that your heart can be lifted up. And this is what happens with Nebuchadnezzar. He comes and he says, is this not the Babylon that I have built for myself? And God hates the proud. And the Bible says, and immediately, while the word was still in his mouth, God gave him the heart of an animal. And the people that used to say, yes, sir, yes, madam, no, sir, yes, madam, his subordinates drove him out of the palace into the wilderness to graze grass. I don't think it is necessary for any one of us to go and graze to understand their position in this life. But I should mention that when your heart gets lifted up, God has a way of sending the proud to go and graze for a little while. And some of us right now could be in a season of grazing. Because a few years ago, our hearts were lifted up. We went into church and felt, if not us, then who else? God says you must sow into eternity. So let not your heart, let not my heart be lifted to think if we are not there, everything comes to a halt. God has a way of demonstrating that he is not limited by man's availability. If you are not available, he can use anybody. That's why he speaks to them and says, when you tell these people to keep quiet, let me tell you, the storms will begin to sing. It is because God is not limited by you and me. And then Moses says, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness? Some of you, to reach where your business is today, you have been in terrible wildernesses. Or some of us today look presentable. But maybe we should do a before and an after. I don't know about you, but I don't want to show my pictures of before. Because sometimes I tell my wife that if you had met me before, you don't have accepted. So don't say if I met you much earlier. Many of us had no shape, no form, no status, no authority, nothing desirable about us. And it is from that standpoint that God found us and picked us, washed us, and lifted us. And today we stand and our hearts are lifted up. So he speaks and he says that he brought you out of the wilderness of unemployment, of brokenness, of collapsing businesses, and God brought you out of that. The very serpents of entrepreneurship and business, you know these very well. Every one of you that has been here knows the serpents and the scorpions and the thirst of business. How sometimes you can go for months, nothing is happening. I remember when I was beginning my business, that for the first 3 months when we were consulting to nobody. Nobody walked into the office. Finally, one day, I saw a customer who walked in. I said, amen. Finally, a customer has come 3 months from opening. When he came in, I sat there, nicely pulled my jacket and said, good morning, you're welcome, please have a seat. Because that time I was the only employee of the company. So sat there, said, good morning, how can I help you? Says, I was asking, where is the clinic from here? I said, wow. Even the first customer is just here to ask for direction. We came out, I said, there is the clinic. And the customer went. So I know what it means to be at a point where there is no business. Nothing is happening. It is thirsty and in a dry land. And then he says, you will remember the Lord. He saved you from the fiery serpents, the scorpions, and the thirsty land, where there was no water. No water. And brought water for you out of flinty rocks. Flinty rocks, water is coming from unexpected places. Some of you, the deals that put you in a position where you are today, they came in unexpected places. You can't ascribe that to yourself. Somebody recommended you who doesn't even know you. One of the first biggest deals we ever had was a guy who was lost. So he's lost and he's talking to his friend who is asking, where are you now? He says, I am at DNK General. So he reads the poster on the wall, DNK General Consultants. So he says, after he talked on the phone to tell his friend where he was, that I'm at DNK because he was outside who they should be. Then he got interested to say, let me read further. Then he saw, these guys do feasibility studies, do what. When he saw that, he realized that there was an American group of investors that wanted to set a multi-facility specialized hospital in Lusaka and wanted a firm that could do a feasibility study for them. Now, this guy heads Baketili. Those of you who are in the space of accountants, you know what that means. So he heads Baketili. That's a top-notch global firm. And when he reads their feasibility study, he says, we are accountants. We are limited on our knowledge of health. These guys are consultants, but also from a health perspective. He comes into the office. And when he comes there, 2 weeks later, we have sealed a very big deal to do a big feasibility study. Can I say that was by power? Can I say that was by might? Can I say that was by intelligence? That is why God brings out water in flints of rocks and fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know. Many of us in here, you and me, know we are in privileged positions which our fathers and our mothers never had. Some of us who today are flying around, our fathers and mothers have never entered an aeroplane. Some of us today are staying in hotels. Our parents never tested the manna. We are testing the manna because of the goodness of the Lord. And then he says, why did he do this? That he might humble you, that he might test you, to do you good in the end. And then he concludes and says, then you say in your heart, my power and my might of my hands have gained me this wealth. Isn't that blasphemous? You shall remember the Lord, for it is him that gives you power to acquire wealth. May God bless you as we continue with our session. Maybe let's stand and pray for our businesses. Let's stand and pray for our businesses. Our eyes are closed and we are praying. Our Father in heaven, we thank you because in our quest to acquire, your word is very clear that it is the Lord that gives you power to acquire. In our quest to acquire land, to acquire enterprises, to dominate markets, we thank you this morning because your word gives an assurance. It is the Lord that gives you power to acquire. Lord, my prayer is that when we have acquired, like faithful Anna after acquiring Samuel, we shall return the Samuel and say, I will give him to the Lord, and he shall serve the Lord all his days, because his name is Samuel, indicating that I prayed for him and I received. Lord, we are praying for our businesses to grow. We are praying for us to enter markets. We are praying for our staff. And I pray that, Lord, when things begin to happen, we shall remember you. Lord, if there's a brother that is discouraged in here, we're still having a wilderness experience in business, a sister having a wilderness experience, encourage them to know that there is a Lord who navigated with his children for 40 years in a wilderness, and today he can navigate with us in the global economies until we come out the other side. So that, Lord, when we have acquired, and then the word will be fulfilled, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in little, you'll be given to be in charge of much. For I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in prison and you visited me. Come into the joy of the Father, prepared for you from the beginning of the earth. Encourage us as we go back, but show us clearly where all this wealth should work for you. It is our prayer in your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.